Good afternoon, everyone. A very good afternoon and a hearty welcome to honorable guests and my dear legal eagles. This afternoon, we have gathered here to attend and lend our ears to some pearls of wisdom by a noted and much revered legal luminary who continues to be a contributing member of the Indian society, the NGT Chairman, Honorable Justice Adarsh Goel. He will speak to us today on the subject transformation of legal education in India. And I believe who better to tell us this than Sir, who has rode on the crests and troughs of legal visions that India has imbibed and inculcated throughout the years. A very warm welcome to you, sir. At this point, it is important that we are cognizant of the endeavor of Honorable Justice J R Midha, sir, who has recently demitted office from Delhi High Court and is the professor and advisor of School of Law, Galgotias University, and the person behind these special lecture series. Today marks the third of the special lecture series, and prior to this, we have been fortunate to have with us Senior Advocate Arun Mohan, sir, and Justice Midha himself. They have educated us about the importance of communication and fundamentals of legal curriculum, besides mere learning about the provisions of law and the case studies. Thus, before we begin, I would request and invite the Dean School of Law, Professor Dr. Namita Singh Malik, to deliver the welcome address and introduce the speaker for today. Ma'am, please.
Thanks a lot, Priyam. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of the School of Law, Galgotias University, I feel immensely privileged to have the opportunity of extending a very warm welcome to our chief guest, Hon'ble Mr. Justice Adesh Kumar Goyal, Chairperson, National Green Tribunal. Our chief guest for today's guest lecture doesn't require an introduction, as sir is a well-known, recognized figure in legal fraternity, but I shall still attempt a brief one. Sir did his BA Honours and LLB from the Punjab University, Chandigarh. Sir was enrolled as an advocate with the Bar Council of Punjab and Haryana on July 16, 1964. Sir has practiced in Punjab and Haryana High Court for about 5 years. And then before moving to Supreme Court, Sir has been designated as a senior advocate by the Supreme Court in 1999. Sir was elevated as the judge of Punjab and Haryana High Court in 2001. And before joining the Supreme Court, Sir even has been the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court in 2011. We are very fortunate to have you with us, sir, today. It is our utmost pleasure that you're here with us today. And no doubt, no words can quantify the amount of wisdom and experience you might have gathered being in and continuing as an invincible part of Indian legal fraternity. I welcome you, sir, and want to pay my gratitude for gracing this occasion with your valuable presence. And now would request you, sir, to guide us with your thought-provoking lecture for the students and for all the participants today. I again welcome sir for a speech. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon,
welcome,
everyone. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Justice Midha is also here.
Yes, indeed, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you, Justice Midha. Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Of the university, faculty members, and dear students, all those present here. I'm so happy to be with you. And first of all, I thank Justice Midha for giving me the opportunity and organizing this issue of very great significance. That is on account of his vision, because Justice Midha has been associated with teaching even much earlier, even before he is going to the bench. And even on the bench, his teaching skills and his interest in teaching has influenced in his research, well-researched judgments, giving new thoughts in the judgments, which are well known, which all of you know much better now. Well, he has given a vision. He wants to see you the moment you complete law. He wants to see you as a functional lawyer. That's his vision on which he has already addressed me. I am not going into that aspect which Justice Midha has already addressed. There's no idea of duplicating. But I will go into another aspect which may have impact on the thoughts on legal education, fundamental thinking on legal education. I'm not in any manner suggesting that your legal education is not in any manner what it should be, but certainly always thinking goes on. Perhaps the education which we got in law may not be of the quality of which the education which you are getting or you are imparting, but certainly there is a scope now, and that's how we are having discussion. Now, the first thought, what legal education should be, in what direction it should go, where should be the thinking, where is the thinking required? Yes, certainly there are expectations of individuals, of the family, of the society, of where the education should take you. Now, for legal education, we must understand it is on a different, altogether different from other subjects, like engineering, like medical. The engineer, the moment he goes, he knows the theories of physics and chemistry and science. The doctor, as soon as he completes his medical studies, he knows anatomy, he knows what are the different diagnoses and what is the treatment given, what is the role of the antibiotics, what is the role of different drugs, and may be able to start treating this. But the lawyer, when he becomes lawyer, sometimes he is lost, he is seeking guidance, where should I go? What should I do? Should I go to corporate world? Should I become litigation lawyer? What should I do? And behind him is our education system involves too many years. By the time a person is 23, 24, he becomes lawyer. He has no time to wait. He is to settle down in life. So he is thinking sometimes for education, he has taken loans. Education is costly. So all those issues arise. And I will tell you certain things of my personal experience. Other things you know better, because I got opportunity of working as Chancellor of 3 NLEs in my capacity as Chief Justice of 3 high courts. Also, as Supreme Court judge, I functioned as visitor of 2 universities, 2 NLEs. So I had some association with the legal education, but I am not directly involved in giving any lectures to the law students, except occasionally like I'm doing today. Now, this distinction in what the legal education is and other education is drawn firstly by the National Knowledge Commission, where they define that legal professionals should play a decisive role in government, legislature, civil service, academia, corporate sector, international relations, social movement for justice, human rights, apart from advocacy. So why I am mentioning this is that advocacy is one component of the legal profession. When you become complete your law studies, it is not merely that you think of advocacy. All these other big, high-sounding opportunities and responsibilities which society expects you. And I'm sure many of them will go to high positions in the judiciary, many of them will go to the administration, civil services, maybe international relations, foreign service, etc. etc. So legal field is now no longer what it was 50 years back. Now it is expanding. And, Dr. Abdul Kalam came to the High Court when I was judge in Chandigarh. So you are only thinking of
Sir, your mic is mute. Mic has gone mute, sir.
I'm sorry. I don't know how it happened. So Abdul Kalam talked to the judges. He says, why you are thinking only of land laws and civil procedure code, criminal procedure code? What about who is going to impart training in space law? Use of missiles, how they will be regulated? Just by way of instance, I am mentioning what can be the scope. The scope is now very, very vast. In one important Supreme Court judgment, I'm just, since you are students, I will give you a citation so you can read it also. Is Manu Bhai case, that is known as 1995, 5 Supreme Court cases, page 730, para 17. The issue considered there was whether legal institutions imparting legal education are doing a private activity or a public activity, and whether any private institution imparting legal education is as of right entitled to government aid. Now, Supreme Court discussed what is the scope of legal education, what is its relevance in the context of the society, and held that this is a great work for the society. Being a legal professional, it is empowering the society, and issued a mandamus to the government that provide financial aid to the institutions imparting legal education. Only by way of mentioning why the government aid is a must, because of significance of the legal professional in the society, because legal professional is going to be leader of the society, provide leadership in different capacities, and determine the future of the country. Future of the country depends upon the quality of the legal professional. Now, when a person is enrolled as advocate, there are ethics laid down under section 49 of the Advocates Act. And the first sentence of the ethics is, an advocate is a privileged member of the society. He must behave as a privileged member of the society. Why? I'm not saying other members are not privileged, but he is titled as such, the privileged member of the society, means he has some special significance. What is that special significance? Because he safeguards the national interest on international front, right of privacy, protection of the rights. He has skill to find out the truth. He has skill to uphold the human rights. He has skill to identify the gaps in law and practice. And he basically is meant for those who cannot afford a lawyer, for upholding the values and ideas of the society. Now, I may just raise a question and leave the answer to you. There was a great philosopher in India You may have heard his name, but he is quoted in many Supreme Court judgments. His name is Bhartri Hari. Any of you have heard it? Heard the name? He has written a small book which has 3 chapters. It is called Tri Shatkam. Shatkam means 100. There are 100 verses in each of the chapters. Okay, it's very interesting also and a great philosophy also. The first chapter is Shringar Shatkam. That is on romance of high level composition on romance. Shringar Shatkam. Second chapter is Niti Shatkam. It has very high principles of individual and state. And the last chapter is Vairagya Shatkam. That's the greatest philosophy of ultimately you have to detach yourself from everything and the consequences of detachment or benefits of detachment. Now, in the Niti Shatkam, there is one verse which is very significant and often quoted. It says it classifies human beings into 3 categories. The first category is of the people who are devils or exploiters. They may be quite competent, very intelligent, but their sole object is to survive or benefit by exploiting others with the help of his knowledge and intelligence. Second category is of the person who do not exploit others, but they are very selfish. They are thinking of themselves, of nobody else. All right. There is a third category of people who are called divine. They are prepared to suffer, but they want everyone to be happy. That is their philosophy. Now, what you want to be individually is for anyone to determine for himself or herself. I am not discussing what one should do. It's entirely for the person to decide what a person wants to do. But I just want to say that our constitution has certain values, which is the first mandate for any lawyer is anywhere he goes, he will swear himself in the name of the constitution. And the first thing which anyone asks you, why you want to be lawyer, you will say to uphold the constitution. When a judge becomes a judge, he is required to take an oath, I will uphold the constitution. If a person becomes a minister or prime minister or chief minister or governor to hold any authority, which is highest authority, that is called constitutional authority, he has to swear as per 3rd schedule to the constitution, which says, I will uphold the constitution. Now, what is the constitution? You are all studying, that starts right in the beginning and that goes on, that permeates, that goes through every other law. Constitution starts from first word in the preamble. What is that first word? That first word is justice. What is the meaning of justice? Justice, social, economic, and political. That is a very, very important question I am posing to you. You need not answer right now. You can think over it. Now, justice, social, economic, and political, if the legal education can equip the legal professional whom legal education is imparted, what is justice, social, economic, and political? And if the students who studies at the end of education can define what is justice, social, economic, and political and determine his role to advance that constitutional goal, I think that may be one benchmark for rating the value of the legal education. Now, I will like you to refer, because in one Supreme Court judgment. It is citation is 2010, one SCC. Its name is, I think, Bhanumati versus State of UP. Supreme Court said from where these words have come, from where the preamble has come. There are so many judgments on preamble. I am not referring to all, but I am specially referring to one particular judgment. The reason is that mentions that this has come, this has roots in vision of the revolutionaries, and the reference is made to statement of Shahid Bhagat Singh. In his statement before court under section 313 Criminal Procedure Code, which is earlier at that time used to be 342 in the old criminal procedure. Now, Bhagat Singh was tried in that case. Of course, I am not talking of Lahore conspiracy case, which is different, for which he was given death sentence and hanged. This was a case where he threw a bomb in the town hall of Delhi when a trade bill was going to be introduced, which would have seriously led to exploitation of the workers in this country. So he threw a bomb. The bomb did not hurt anyone, but it generated some smoke and sound. As a result of that, there was a lot of fear and everybody started running here and there. And Bhagat Singh announced that, don't worry, it's not going to hurt anyone. And I am not running anywhere. I have thrown the bomb and I am here. I am surrendering to police. So he was arrested and he was charged with attempt to murder, 307 IPC. At the end of the trial, this Criminal Procedure Code, when you will study, you will find accused is given an opportunity to explain the circumstances appearing against him in the evidence. So he was asked to explain, and he said, yes, there is no charge. I have thrown the bomb. Before the bomb was thrown, I myself manufactured the bomb. And for manufacturing the bomb, I studied chemical engineering. This is the chemical component of the bomb, which can merely generate smoke and sound. It cannot hurt, even cause a simple hurt to anyone. Therefore, there is no charge under 307. But then judge asked him, why you did it? Sir, I want to bring revolution. I want to bring inqilab. Therefore, I did it. I want to create awareness. I want people to know what inqilab is. Then the third question judge asked, what is inqilab according to you? So he said, inqilab is a change which I want. And what change I want is today, the person who is growing food for the whole world is starving. The person who is building big mansions is unable to get a shelter for himself. And the person who is weaving clothes for the whole world is unable to cover his body. So this is a system based on injustice and exploitation. I want the whole system to change. I want justice to be brought. Justice means it should be proportionate, whatever is fairness, what one gets should be able to get. The powerful people or power centers should not be able to exploit the persons who are without authority. So this is my mission. That was explanation of Bhagat Singh, which is documentary. You can open Google and read his statement of 1929. And Supreme Court said, this is justice, explaining justice in the preamble. So more than any other study, the law study is very significant for society's growth. And more than individual interest, the whole society has a big stake in a legal professional, as Knowledge Commission itself has said, as Supreme Court itself has said. Now, for the legal education, what is the agenda? What is the reform needed? before I go to, I may also mention in passing, but an important thing is what Gandhi said about legal education and law and lawyers. He gave an address in a law college. And in his address in a law college at, I don't remember, perhaps it was somewhere near Nagpur. The name of the college, I don't remember. In his book, My Experiments with Truth, there is a chapter, Law and Lawyers, and his lecture is reproduced there. I'm telling you the source where I read it. And there he says that in my practice as law, he practiced for a long period. His practice as a law is not so well known as his other freedom movement activities are well known. But freedom movement, he became freedom fighter mainly because he was a lawyer. And for conducting a matter, he went to South Africa. He asserted his right to travel in first class, but the Britishers did not allow, and he was thrown out from the first class compartment, against which he struggled. And then he fought for the rights of the underprivileged in South Africa before coming to India and settling down in his practice in Bombay High Court, where he practiced successfully for many years. But he narrated many cases in his chapter Law and Lawyers and said that as a lawyer, I determined that I will only tell the truth. And he said it is not necessary for a lawyer to deviate from truth for practice of law. That is something which people perhaps are not prepared to easily accept. Yes, certainly in short run, if you are thinking of quick money, then for quick money, there has to be compromise. See, there is a conflict. If you want to go on the righteous path, there is a hard life, there is a struggle. There's no easy money. If you want to go for easy money, there may be several paths, there may be even crime, there may be even deviation from truth. There may be so many things. There may be anti-national activities, anti-social activities. Yes, you can make easy money. Money is required. And therefore, in absence of education, this is what happens. Now, before I narrate 2 or 3 experiences, I think if there is a time, I understand the limit of time and I don't want to take too much time. I think the coordinator can remind me 5 minutes before, so I will stop it. Otherwise, it's an interesting subject and talking to students is always fascinating. And time is always a constraint.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Pardon?
Sir, we have sufficient time, but
Okay.
As per the practice, we take a break of 10 minutes after 40 minutes.
Okay.
So
Shall we take a break?
So we can take a break for 10 minutes. Okay. Now it is, I think, already 3:40.
Yes.
So we can come back at 3:50.
Okay.
Then we will have again 40 minutes.
Very good.
40 minutes. 40 minutes there.
Out of 40 minutes, do you want some question answer session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So last 15 minutes will be the question hour.
So I will take 20 more minutes.
25 minutes.
I talk so as to conclude within 20 minutes. So you don't have to have too much of patience. All right.
Sir, it is a very enlightening, very, very enlightening thing. Many new things.
Thank you so much.
Many new things we are or
will come after 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Before I come back to our some of my experiences and also refer to some more Indian philosophies briefly, I may take you to what Howard Gardner, was a professor in Harvard Business School in US. He has said about the legal education or objective of legal education. I'm not quoting, but I'm just giving a narrative. The quotation will be long. It says the object of legal education is to cultivate 5 minds. We think normally when we talk of mind, means mind is one. Yes, mind is one, but it has various components and various faculties. So in that sense, he says you have to cultivate 5 minds. What are the 5 minds? First is the disciplined mind. That needs to be developed. Unless there is a discipline, it is impossible to be a legal professional. So that faculty of mind needs to be well inculcated, education given as to how do you be disciplined, how are you punctual, how do you keep up with what you say, and how do you cope up with your work? What is your commitment to life? What is commitment to values? These are all, I am not elaborating what a discipline is. All of you know it, what a disciplined mind is. Second is synthesizing mind. Is not whatever you see it, why it is so. Like argumentative Indian, everything you have to question, why it is happening. What is the logic behind it? What it should be. You are not satisfied, a lawyer is not satisfied by saying what it is. He always thinks of what it should be also. Yes, it is like that, it was like that, but it should be like that. So, third is the creative mind. Not only you find these problems are there, most of the people criticize this is there, that should be there, that should not there. But then you have to provide solution. The lawyer also provides a solution. He also provides a way forward. Fourth component is the respectful mind. Means don't be obsessed by what I am thinking. Oh, what I am thinking, that is correct. I am not going to listen to anyone else. So that is not a respectful mind. You don't know at the end of the day, the smallest person may say something very significant. And your own thought may be found to be erroneous. At the end of the day, you may withdraw your thought. I was wrong. But that capacity is required. It has to be cultivated. It's not inherent everywhere. And the fifth is most significant, is the ethical mind. I will not do everything I am asked to do, or I will not do everything which is beneficial in terms of money. I will maintain a balance. I owe a duty, an ultimate duty to God, duty to the society, duty to the people, duty to the larger interest for which I am born as a human being, which is a very rare privilege by itself. That itself impels me. And I am going to take you on ethical mind to one or two more very significant aspects without which we are not complete as human beings, we are not complete as citizens. Is the debt which we are owing to the society, to the parents, to the people. I will briefly refer to that. But at the moment, I am only mentioning what thinking is there even in Harvard Business School for designing an educational program. Now, I first want to mention to you, let me tell my structure for next 15 minutes, is the three incidents which you will not get bored, because these are personal episodes which I have come across as Chief Justice. And then I will also like to narrate a small poem to you, which is very relevant in this context. Let me see if I have it. I think I have it. Yes, I have it. I'll come to the end on that poem, and then before we go to question and answer. Now, I am now mentioning three incidents which I faced as a Chief Justice of India. All the three relate to Odisha. I am not referring to, of course, I have some experiences of Guwahati, but because of shortage of time, I will only refer to these three incidents. First incident, I will go in this sequence of my memory. When I went to Odisha, just even before landing there, I made a program of what I have to do. And first thing was to visit all the places. Particularly, I had heard of, some of you may have heard of, a place which is as backward, very backward, where some people died of hunger in Odisha. This region is most backward, one of the most backward regions of the country. It is called KBK region. Kalahandi is the place where these people died. There is one place called Bolangi. And third case, I'm not remembering, but anyway. So I made a program that I must first visit the most backward area, and which is also backward in terms of money, also affected by Maoism. It is on the border of Chhattisgarh. So there is no air connectivity. There is no direct train connectivity. So I had to go via Andhra, Srikakulam by train, and from there I went to the place. And in the return also, for taking the train, I had to travel about 150 or 200 kilometers from there to take train for back to Bhubaneswar. That place is called Bolangi. This is not so much significant. This is only a part of the story. Real story is that there was a time gap of 2 hours between my reaching Bolangir and the arrival of train. So I went to the rest house, circuit house, where I met the district judge, superintendent of police, and the deputy commissioner, and asked them what is the legal system, how legal system is working. And to me, it was a shock. They said, sir, what are you talking? The courts are lying locked. Why courts are lying locked? Courts are lying locked because the lawyers are on strike. So lawyers can be on strike, but how courts will be lying locked? Where will people go for getting justice? Somebody is arrested by police. If court is closed, who is going to enforce his right of liberty? So they had no answer. And there was a superintendent of police. I said, what are you doing? You have police power. How can you allow the court to be closed? Told the district judge how justice can be denied to people. And deputy commissioner also. So they are powerful people. This is Western Odisha, and there is a demand for setting up of the High Court bench here. And it's going on for long. The courts are closed for long. It was really shocking for me to know that. I said, nothing doing. Then I lost my temper a bit, not a bit, too much, perhaps. I said, before I board the train, the court must be opened. And if you don't do it, all the 3 of you will be behind the bars by tomorrow. I will issue you contempt notice, and in contempt, I will send all the 3 of you to jail. So they were frightened when I gave that threat. They telephoned the lawyers' leaders. The Chief Justice is here and he wants the court to be opened straight away. But what will happen to your agitation? So immediately within 10 minutes, more than 100 lawyers came. And I had gone back to my room. They called me from my room. They said, we want to talk to the Chief Justice. All right, I said, what do you want to talk? I'm so shocked. I'm not in a mood to talk to you. You are violating the law to this extent that you have blocked the court and denied people of the justice. What type of lawyer? Who has made you lawyer? What for you have become lawyer? The lawyer is the one who is there to protect people's rights. And you are the ones who are determined to violate people's rights. So I expressed my anger and anguish. I said, if for your demands you can deprive people of your rights, you are not lawyers, you are criminals. Think of the person who is standing on the border in 0-degree temperature, prepared to lose his life for protecting your liberty or your freedom. Is this your ideal? So I was in anger, but I thought there would be a lot of reaction. But when after I expressed, then one by one, the lawyers stood up, the top leaders, and said, we have no words to express our shame. We really forgot what our mandate is. And we have committed a sin. We came to express our protest, but we are assuring you that before you board the train, we ourselves will open the court and never allow the court to be closed in future. So it had good stories and bad stories, good aspects and bad aspects, but I have narrated you the personal incident, one of the personal. Now I am telling the second personal incident. So if you become a lawyer and stop the working of the courts, however big knowledge you gain, if you don't have ethics, you don't have commitment, you don't have sense of service, lawyer's profession is a mission for service. A noble profession for serving others, for finding out the truth, for upholding the rights of the people. Second and third incidents were on my same visit. That place is called, you may have heard, Hirakund Dam, you may have heard. Very famous dam after Bhagda Dam. Immediately after Bhagda Dam, Hirakund Dam was constructed. And there is a place before that. Sambalpur is a prominent place. Sambalpur. Hirakund Dam is in Sambalpur. Those who are from Odisha or who know the geography may be knowing it. And before Sambalpur, about 50 kilometers distance, is another major city, Sonpur. That incident I am going to narrate, the third one relates to Sonpur. And before Sonpur, between Bhubaneswar and Sonpur, is a place called Angul. Okay, I'm taking you to geography of Odisha a bit. And the third K name which I forgot is Koraput, because old age my memory is fading. So Angul is a place where temperature is highest in India. It goes beyond 55. And when I reached Angul, it was not night, but it appeared as if it is night. Why? Because so much of smoke, so much of violation of environment law may not be anywhere else in the country as in Angul. Angul is a place producing maximum of coal, and there are companies processing the coal, and that's how in the process so much smoke is generated. So I asked my driver, why so much smoke? Is it how it has become so much dark? So, sir, it is dark because we have reached Angul. Angul is always like that. So anyway, I halted at the circuit house and members of the bar came to meet me. This is the incident I am narrating only with the object of telling you what the legal education mission is and how it is happening in practice. I am not criticizing anyone. They may have their own thinking, perception, or compulsions, whatever. At anybody's back, I am not criticizing. So when I reached the circuit house, many lawyers came to me. Sir, we wanted to meet the Chief Justice. We had sent you a request also. And your secretary said, I am going to come to Angul. Therefore, we are here to meet you and greet you. I said, all right, thank you so much. But they said, sir, we have a demand. I said, what is the demand? Demand is that please open a special court under the Corruption Act at Angul. Why? Sir, there is a huge corruption here. It's a commercial town because it's a mining belt. Huge wealth is generated. And Corruption Act cases fetch very good amount of fee to the lawyers. I said, I'm really shocked at hearing what you have said. I wish you all success. I really wish you all prosperity and richness. But this is not a thought which should inspire lawyers' mind. Lawyer is always thinking of protecting people's rights, not of just making money. And I narrated to them when I entered Angul, so much smoke, I thought you have come with that problem of how people are breathing air here. So many people must be dying. Have you ever thought of them? Why don't you file some petition before me to stop this smoke? And yes, it's all right. Where special court is to be set up is a matter of administrative exigencies. It can't be consideration that lawyers at one place should make a lot of money. So anyway, it's only by the way I am referring to show what can be the level of perverse thinking because of the dire need for money. And the third is reverse of it. Therefore, don't think I'm telling you all bad things. I'm telling you something good. And the third is most important of these two. And because that portrait which I referred to in the third incident is still before me, it's always before me. It's so inspiring. He is at Sonpur. When I reached Sonpur, at every nook and corner of the Sonpur, I saw a portrait. And there was something written in Udia under that portrait. So I was very curious to know. I asked the district judge, why so many portraits? Is there any function? Is some leader coming? And what is written in Udia under this portrait? No, they, sir, this is a portrait of Bhima Goyal, who was the greatest saint of Odisha. But I said, what is written in Udia? I asked him to narrate his story to me. It was in 15th century. Bhima Bhai was a Dalit child, born blind and bad looking. At a young age, his father died and his mother contracted another marriage. So he was abandoned, left the house. He became a beggar. So he wanted to take shelter in an ashram in Sonpur. He belonged to Sonpur. This happened in Sonpur. This is the history of Sonpur. Now Bhima Bhai went to an ashram, but seeing the blind, bad-looking Dalit boy, beggar, the head of the ashram immediately turned him out. There was a well in front of the ashram. The boy, out of frustration, jumped into the well to commit suicide. But he was saved by people around. And then he is the greatest saint of Odisha, whose works, who has composed so much of poetry, so great significance. His portrait hangs in Indian Parliament, and his works have been translated into most of the major languages of the world. I understand his portrait is also in UN because he is considered to be one of the greatest persons of the world. And what is written in Odia is just 2 lines I am telling you in translation form. He said, "My soul be condemned to the hell, and welfare of the needy people be protected." There are so many miseries in the world. The miseries be redeemed, and my soul may be sent to hell. I don't mind. I don't want to go to heaven. That's one sentence of his poetry which is very popular, which is written. So I asked the district judge, can you send a photo of this great saint to me? I didn't actually ask him, but next day the district judge sent to me that portrait with translation in Hindi of this poem, which I have always kept in my office. So ultimately, history is not going to remember those who have made lot of wealth or big name or big earning, or even if you become the topmost lawyer or highest earning lawyer, it is not that you are a great lawyer. You are a great lawyer if you have protected the rights of the poor people. This may be in conflict with your ambition to some extent, but it is for your choice. I am not asking you. But what I am now asking you is the last thing. I am now coming to the point. And what is the significance of the point? That poem is composed by a great revolutionary, Kartar Singh Saraba. I don't know whether you have heard his name. He was Guru of Shahid Bhagat Singh and principal accused in first Lahore conspiracy case, for which he was hanged at the age of 19. Bhagat Singh was hanged at the age of 23. So he composed poetry in California. He was studying in Berkeley University. And for composing that poem, which was banned in US, he escaped from US and went to Germany. And he made a plan to liberate India in collaboration with Germany in the First World War by giving an appeal to the armed forces to revolt against the Britishers. And his writings, which he addressed to many people known to him, ultimately many of them fell to the hands of the Britishers. Therefore, he was tried for sedition and given death sentence for being under section 120B IPC, read with section 124A. Based on those writings which are part of exhibits in the trial. So I'm wondering whether you can have discussion on the trial and see how he was hanged and also see the writings. But I'm not referring to all the writings. I will like to read very briefly few lines from his poem. Let me just get it. Yes. The poem is in Gurmukhi. I know Gurmukhi, but I will translate to you in English also. And what he said is, in substance, that I am happily prepared to be hanged. But the countrymen, I am getting hanged for you. Please don't forget me. Don't forget my debt on me. We are breathing fresh air because of people like that. Let me read in his own language. Deshvasiyo, this is addressed to the countrymen. Rakhna yaad sanu. 5 people were hanged, 12 were hanged to death, but 5 were finally hanged. There were 24 accused. All the remaining were sent to Kala Pani, that is Andaman. Deshvasiyo, rakhna yaad sanu, kite dila to na phula dein. खातिर वतन दी चढ़े हाँ फांसी ते देख असां नूं ना घबरा जाना मौत असां दी जिंदगी कौम दी है फर्ज अपना असां निभा जाना साडी याद ने वतन सुपुत्रां नूं इश्क वतन दे अंत नूं ला जाना. That's all. I'm reading only these 4 lines and I'm translating into English for those who do not understand Gurumukhi. Though it is simple, it's as good as Hindi. My countrymen always keep remembering us. It may not be that you forget us from your hearts. We have kissed the gallows for the country. Do not feel nervous by looking at our sacrifices. Our deaths are life of the country. We will certainly perform our duty to the country. Our memory will awaken the countrymen to love their country. Now, this is the debt. This is the expectation of the previous generations. This is the mission for which they lived. This is the mission for which they worked. So the sacrifices which so many lakhs and lakhs of people have made is our sacrifice to serve people may not be bigger than them, but certainly we can't ditch the country, we can't ditch our society. The education which we get with public money, with public participation, is a mission for serving us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry if I overshot the time.
No, sir, not at all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir. We are so moved by your humble demeanor, inspired by the simplistic sophistication and your perceptive personal anecdotes. Most of all, we stand so encouraged by the example of you taking a stand to open the courts so that access to justice is not inhibited and that you were undeterred by the politics of a new space that you began your journey in, or you were about to begin a journey in. The most important lesson I believe that we learned today was that our ambition is important, but it is secondary to our efforts to stand for justice and the access to it. I think I speak on behalf of the students when I say these things, sir, and it has been such a learning experience. Now, without further ado, I would like to open the floor for questions. And sir, I would like to say that while listening to your words of wisdom, there have been some questions that are already coming my way. And I would like to begin with something very important, since we're talking here about the transformation of legal education, sir. One of the questions by our faculty member, Ms. Pooja, is that, sometimes as a faculty of law, at times the online education system seems futile. We cannot gather the concentration of the students, and it becomes very difficult to check on whether they are listening to the faculty and to gather their responses, that to inspire that level of engagement in the class. So, sir, with respect to that, could you suggest something that we could inculcate in our pedagogy so that we have a more engaged classroom and therefore a better education?
Yes, certainly it all depends on the level of interest which is generated, which requires perhaps some change in the method of teaching, how to make it interesting, how it should be a matter of pride or interest. If you love something, you will not miss it. If you love teaching, if you love the lecture, you will not distract. Of course, there may be individual problem, or maybe there is a distraction now with so many things, with the mobile, with the other activities. I can't say, because current generation has its own challenges and its own great qualities. So this is a problem which perhaps may need attention at the ground level as to why what is happening. There can't be any rigid formula. Only thing is it must be of interest to the students.
Thank you, sir. So there are a couple of questions related to the National Green Tribunal. So I will ask them together.
Most welcome.
Yeah, it says that the NGT has delivered many landmark questions in the arena of prevention of environmental pollution. However, what is a concern of the speaker is that there is an increasing level of environmental pollution in our country in the form of disposal of waste in river water, dumping of metallic debris, etc. How can we stop the same? And the other question, sir, is by Dr. Mudassir, that is it is it time to give the powers of judicial review to NGT, akin to what United Kingdom
I'm
has?
so grateful for these questions because these are very, very fundamental questions. And part of my earlier lecture covers, to some extent, these issues. The issues today which we are facing is lack of devotion of duty. Everybody wants to expect, yes, others should perform duty, but doesn't want to expect from himself, has his own ambitions, and on that ambitions willing to compromise on everything, but want to expect from everything. Abdul Kalam used to, in every function, administer oath to students. What was the oath? His oath was, I will not ask what I can get. I will ask what I can give. Oath is an answer to many questions. Today, if you have an ailment, some of us may prefer to face the ailment instead of going to the doctor for treatment because of the fear that if you go to a good medical facility or good hospital, maybe out of commercialization, they will give you an advice which is not required. They will give you treatment which is not required. They will ask you to undergo so many tests which you don't require, and may even ask you to undergo surgery which is not required. So if they have a legal problem, they are afraid of going to lawyer because the amount of money which may be asked or the extent of exploitation which may sometimes face may be much more than the rights which is going to secure by using the services of the law. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but these are some of the real life apprehensions in the minds of the people, that if I go to the court system is not well equipped to deliver me what I require, or medical system is not well equipped to deliver me what I require. So this is everywhere. There are 2 or 3 models in the world, and I may just take a minute to mention to you how the things are working. There people call it command and control model. There can't be models for everything, but that's how these days theoretically these concepts are discussed. So command and control model means from the top a command is issued and it is executed. There is a market model, means supply and demand. You need something and there is a person prepared to supply that on terms. So these are certain models mentioned for tackling the problem. Now, I may just share with you the major issue of environment which we are facing is the waste management. Waste can be a great asset. Waste is a great liability. Our authorities, citizens do not have that much say as the state has in these matters, because under the environment law, right to clean air, clean water, peaceful environment is everybody's right. But this is the right, most violated right to life or part of fundamental right, and which hardly is possible to enforce because there are beautiful laws made, but the issues of implementation. Now, where is the gap? Where is the gap in the law and enforcement? Is the sewage is automatically generated by everyone in every household. But according to the official figures, the capacity of the country today is to treat 62% of the sewage. If you utilize the whole capacity, it is 62%. But Actually, hardly 50% capacity in practical terms. 50% of sewage is treated. Remaining 50% of sewage is going into the water bodies, flowing into the drains, going to the rivers. With the result, there is an online monitoring system by which every year the statistics are announced, and 351 river statues as per website of the Central Pollution Board, where online monitoring is done, are classified as polluted river statues. Actual parameters of pollution, if you apply, it may be much more. And the number is continuously on the increase, it's not decreasing. All our rivers are polluted because sewage is continuously going. At least 50% of sewage, untreated sewage is going, because there is no capacity. The litigation, any lawyer, what a lawyer will do or what a judge will do, every day petition is filed, sir, see, pollution, water is being polluted, which is a criminal offense, but no action is being taken. Who will take action? Because the authorities, why it is not happening? Not that we don't have money. They say we don't have money. The center says it is the responsibility of the state. State says the center must fund it. Under the constitution, it is responsibility of the municipal corporation or the Gram Panchayat. They say we don't have funds. We don't know the technology. The funds are available. Then whom to give the contract? Things are done, are now outsourced. Nobody has capacity to do it themselves. They say we don't have the staff, so we have to hire a contractor. When they hire a contractor, what is the rate quoted? To whom there are so many competitors in the market live getting the jobs. Government contract is, so many people are seeking the government contract. Now, whom to give and at what rate to give? And then there are malpractices alleged that somebody wants kickback, this or that. With the result, the contracts are not given. I'm not saying every percent sewage is being treated. Some people are doing good work. Maybe contractors are doing good work or the officers are doing. But at the same time, 50% untreated sewage is going into the water systems, polluting the water. And then that water is used for drinking by some people, resulting in waterborne diseases that is also taken by many living forms, animals, insects, etc. The fish are dying, or the animals who are consuming it are dying. Then it goes for irrigation, and we take the food which is prepared or grown with the polluted water, which harms our health. So this is the racket, big racket. This is the liquid waste, solid waste we are generating, throwing in our dustbin, and after that, somebody collects it and takes it and dumps it someplace. There are 4,000 mountains of garbage in the country. Every city, including Delhi, if you see, there are 3 big mountains which are visible to every eye. But we have a fundamental right to clean air, but it is releasing greenhouse gases, and it has metals. It is percolating in the groundwater. It is affecting the fertility of the soil and affecting the groundwater. Then it catches fire. It releases various harmful gases in the atmosphere. People breathe it and suffer from breathing problems. This is visible to everyone, but who is going to solve it? No individual will solve it. The government will solve it. Local body says we don't have funds, we can't do it. State government says we don't have funds. Center says it is responsibility of the state or the municipal. This is where we are stuck. Therefore, it is young, brilliant lawyers, because we have not been able to find solution to many problems. Maybe we are too commercial in our outlook. Maybe the persons who are to execute it are not willing to do it. These are various unanswered questions or challenges to which new strategies will have to be thought, which requires young brains like you to find solution. But this problem, certainly we are not able to solve it. But I have told you one major problem. There may be hundreds of other problems, but I have told you one major problem which is confronting our system.
Thank you, sir. This is a very important thing that you've led us, a very important direction you have led us in, because considering, that India is such a complex country, and we have our share of, scarcity of resources and various challenges. So it is important that each one on its own part and in one's own capacity as a faculty member, as somebody who is in a judicial authority, as civil society members, actually contribute and help out wherever possible. and see what can be done apart from trying to make some strategies, new novel strategies to address these issues. Thank you so much. There's another question, sir, by Ms. Paramita, and she says that the patent system allows for the invention and production of eco-friendly technologies which enable a society to increase its wealth while reducing its use of energy and materials. How do we strike a balance between maintaining an incentive for innovation and making the world benefit from green technology?
Again, a very, very interesting question. Very interesting and very, very important. Very, very important. More important than any one of us. Is the where do you draw the line? How do you balance the rights of the people and the rights of the commercial world? They say it is like anyway, because of shortage of time, I will give a very short answer. I can give a very long answer, but I will give a very short answer. And the answer is there is certainly the person doing invention is entitled to be rewarded. But what is happening is that in the name of that, yes, it is my invention, it is my right, they are claiming too much of right into that and not allow any other people. They are trying to even those who have done independent invention to control it. I read a very interesting story that a person in Australia was suffering from cancer, and his treatment, the price of the treatment was told to him was so much that he could not afford it. Then somebody advised him, you go to India, because the treatment which was going to cost him 50 lakhs would cost in India 1 lakh, because in India that patent was not applicable and the price of the drug was 50 times less. So this is the level of price which goes with the right of the patent, which is fully exploited. There are laws in place where the government can give license or require license on reasonable terms. Now you may have seen this vaccine business and the people claiming right, and then Supreme Court intervening and the government intervening at what rate the vaccine should be available. Vaccine, once the discovery is made or research is made, doesn't cost anything practically. It's only for their patent they are charging too much of money. So this is affecting every person, but it is the greed, human greed. The human greed has no limits, and the control of human greed, how it will be controlled in future for saving the society, is another big challenge which legal professionals will face, those who want to safeguard people's rights. Another thing I must tell you by experience is most of the big lawyers are standing on the side of the law violators. And there is hardly anyone to be seen for those who will defend common man, who doesn't have a lawyer, who is going to suffer the consequences. So that's another challenge, because the commercialized world, everybody is to survive. And for surviving, you need money. And if you do social service or if you render service only, service element, it's a big challenge.
Yes, sir.
Commercialization is the major problem. Tagore said, where knowledge, I want to rise in a country where knowledge is free. Our people who had great knowledge have given knowledge free to the people. But today's modern world, they are not only giving at price, they are giving it as exorbitant price. So it's not that solution can't be found, it can be found. Wherever there is a will, there is a will. But there is a struggle of the forces which I mentioned, Bhartri Hari mentioned. He says most of the people belong to first two categories. The third category people number need to be increased who want to serve. Either you want to exploit or you want to serve yourself. You don't want to serve others. The problems, solutions can't be found unless you want to serve others.
Yes, sir. Something to really think about and work on. So there's a question by a student, actually two students, Shivalika Pratap Chauhan and Ayush. They're both asking whether we should, in one way or another, I'm just clubbing the questions together into one. In one way or another, do you think that an addition to the present legal curriculum with specific relation to matters related to how to consider humanistic aspects, so one of the students says that there is a subject called jurisprudence that looks upon the value based aspect of engagement of lawyers with law, or of law students with law. Yet there is nothing very specific that looks at the interpretation and how more with a humanistic and a value based approach that judgment can be made. And Shivalika asks, in the same vein, she asks that should we then have a specific addition to the legal curriculum, in relation to something value based.
Absolutely right. Itself suggests some answer in the question itself. But the question is of great importance for all times to come. Because yes, certainly the law is to meet the changing needs of the society. Law is not static. Society itself is not static. Society is changing, the challenges are changing, the requirements are changing. And to meet all those requirements, the law is required to constantly be matched with the changing times, matched with the changing needs. The law needs to be revised, law needs to be reviewed, the thinking needs to be revised. Of course, there is something static. If there was no something static, then we have a symbol in Supreme Court, emblem of the Supreme Court. That thing is static. What is that thing? What is this emblem of the Supreme Court, if anybody has seen? Yato dharma tato jaya. Okay. Wherever there is justice, there is victory. Or the person on the side of the victory will win. This is permanent. This theme of law is permanent. That ultimately justice must win. Yes, it is a permanent. But then how justice wins in a given situation, that is a situation, changing and dynamic situation. Challenge is thrown and answer is provided. There is a constant struggle. In those who stand on the side of justice, those who stand against justice. And interestingly, you may be able to relate it if you know the source of this quotation, which is in the emblem of the Supreme Court, is from Mahabharata. And these are the words of Gandhari uttered to her son Duryodhan. When before the Mahabharata war, Duryodhan went to seek blessing of his mother Gandhari, who was very powerful, very divine woman. And her words will always be truthful. So he went to his mother and said, "You bless me to win. If you bless me to win, I will win." It's a prestigious war, historical war. So she said, "Yato dharma tato jaya." Whoever is on the right side will win. That's taken in the emblem of the Supreme Court. Whoever is on the right side will win is a goal of justice, is a goal of law. But how righteous wins is a matter of struggle, depends upon the weight. We have in our High Court, means our High Court, all High Courts are our High Courts, but I started practice and I was a judge in Punjab High Court. And if you know, Chandigarh was designed by a French architect called Le Corbusier, famous international fame architect of that time. So he designed a emblem for the High Court. That's very interesting to see. There is a philosophy in the emblem which he designed. There is a scale, and one side of the scale is down, one side of the scale is up. But the pendulum, what you call it, where the scale is hanging, the stick to which the scale is hanging, it remains equal, is flat. Because if the person who is heavy, where the scale is down, is controlled by justice in such a way that even if the two sides, the two parties are powerful and less powerful, the justice remains same. Justice is given with equal hand, or with sometimes there is justice is blindfolded, because you are not concerned about status of the party. You are giving justice. For law, everyone in eyes of law is equal. That's a concept of equality, how it is articulated in different forms, or justice. But then it is easy for an architect or a philosopher to define, but difficult for a functional lawyer or functional society to achieve. That struggle, how to achieve it, is a constant struggle for any legal profession.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for pointing out the underlying jurisprudence, even in the symbolism, very important symbols that are related with Indian judiciary, and you've also looked at some of our mythical historical aspects, and given us some lessons. We've just finished a 7-day training program on jurisprudence, and I believe we missed out on having you as a resource person. It was, you have wonderful depictions on how we can use jurisprudence as a valuable aspect of learning law. Sir, I'm, because of the paucity of time, I'll just have to stop here. But the questions keep pouring in. There are a couple of students and a faculty member. I think we have to take these questions up in another session. So that has been the effect of your presence, sir. It's been wonderful having you here. I would, and thank you so much. I would request Honorable Justice J R Midha now to please deliver the vote of thanks, sir. Meanwhile, we also, I take the privilege of presenting the e-memento to you, sir. Please kindly accept it. Justice Midha, sir. Sir, you are on mute. Thank you, sir. This is our token of
Thank you so much.
appreciation for your presence. Justice Midha, sir.
Honorable Justice Adarsh Goel, we are all privileged to have very enlightening discourse by you. And we have learned so many new things today, more particularly the National Knowledge Commission, which you have explained, and the 5 principles which you have taken us from the Harvard, which are being used by Harvard Business School, and the 5 minds: disciplining mind, logic mind, creative mind, respectful mind, and critical mind. This is a new vision, and I think all the law students should imbibe all this to become a successful lawyer. I recollect during many of our discussions, you had told me about this Niti Shatkam, and I am carrying that file with me here also right now. This is translation from Indian Institute of Scientific Heritage, and is such a resource of knowledge. In fact, all the 3 Shatkams I have with me here. I thought I will use it at an appropriate stage in the in the university, and they give a very fine view of the human life on this planet. Then a wonderful way how Gandhiji took justice and uh, and walked on the path of truth is the real service to the society. Although it is very difficult for a lawyer to stick to the path of justice, but nevertheless there are people, and that should be the goal of all the law students. Yesterday also a question was put by one of the students that what should he do when he knows that the accused has committed the crime, on which we had a very nice discussion. But this Gandhiji's example is another example, and also the sacrifices given by the people who fought for the freedom of the country, that we are today living a free life because of the sacrifices given by the freedom fighters, and we have to have that goal. The three examples of Odisha, which you have shown how you upheld the law and the justice, is a great learning experience for all of us. And I am very hopeful that all the law students are inspired and committed to have a goal in life, how to live a pure and true life, and service to the society should be the goal of every lawyer. So we are very grateful for giving wonderful thought to all of us, and we will work to keep this as the commitment and the goal. And all the law students, I think, will take this, keep these principles in their heart, close to their heart, to become a good citizen and a good lawyer and serve the society in the best possible manner. Thank you once again, Justice Adarsh Goel. The entire Galgotia University is grateful to you for the wonderful insight given to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Midha sir, and thank you, Goel sir, for both Justice Goel sir to be present here. I'm so thankful, Midha sir, and to Aradhana ma'am also, who enabled this kind of a lecture series where we could hear people have had their own personal experiences at such elevated levels, and not just depend, as a law school, not just depend on anecdotes of of people who are not really following the law, or stand on the contrary side of law, as has been pointed out by you, how difficult it is to actually take up the path of law. But both of you, sir, are an inspirational presence for our students to take the right path. And I think we are honored to have you present here today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Honorable Goel, sir. And with this inspiration and motivation, I think we would enter into the evening and close the session. Thank you so much, everyone.